As we read through the Bible through the year, we move very fast. And as Genesis is very packed in what it gives us, and I think it's about the most interesting things in the Bible. Exodus is very interesting. Of course, I think the Gospels are very interesting. But Genesis is among the most interesting stuff until you get really to First Samuel. But at any rate, something ought to be said further about the man and his wife, Eve. When God says, observes that there is not a suitable helper, and God will make for the man a suitable helper, and then it takes what's usually translated a rib from the man. That word is really an architectural word, and it's not for a rib, but some kind of architecture. And we don't see it used again in the Hebrew Bible except in description of the temple that Solomon builds. And the architecture in question there is the rooms around the most holy place, which support the most holy place. And in fact, remove the rooms, would you have enough support for the most holy place in Solomon's temple? Well, why bring that up? And I did say and make mention, this suitable helper, the word helper, ezer, is the same word that the prophets and Psalms will use for saying, the Lord is my helper. So to think that the woman is something lesser than the man when the word helper is used for God by the psalmist saying, the Lord is my helper. It's not that the woman is anything lesser at all. And in fact, the rib is really not rib, but having to do with architecture that would be a chief support. Certainly the woman is not in any way to be discounted at all. It's not the case that the woman is something lesser or weaker, but rather the woman is very powerful indeed, and indeed powerful enough that when she partakes of the forbidden fruit, it's clear in the Hebrew Bible that the Adam, the man, was with her. Now, why he didn't say anything, I don't know, but one of the traditions is that the man's desire for the woman is such that he would rather be found in disobedience to be with her rather than to be separated from her. Now, when the Lord talks to them about it, and in the so-called curse for the woman, increased pain in childbearing, and yet her desire will be for her husband. Now, the English Standard Version of the Bible said that her desire would be contrary to her husband. I think that's the ESV translators making more of a social statement in today's context than a perhaps straight-up translation. I was reading the commentary of Lang's commentary through the Bible, and this was done around in the 1830s, a different translator for each work, and then several scholars about what they have to say about this section. In the Genesis chapter 3, they say, well, the desire isn't at all like what Gesenius says, sort of the animal lust desire. It can't be that. Well, that's German commentators in the 1830s. So I looked at Gesenius, and Gesenius is one of the early modern lexicographers. That is, he is looking at the words and their use and comparing them with the same words in other places. And yeah, I think Gesenius does have it right. There is this fleshy desire for the woman, of the woman for the man, as well as speaking from man's point of view, man's desire for woman, yeah, I think I can say safely that yes, I appreciate, as a man, I appreciate women's architecture. Nevertheless, there is this tension between the man and woman. Of course, it really is rather tragic that when God starts questioning first Adam, and God knows exactly what has happened, obviously. One would point out, yes, well, Adam blames the woman. Well, Adam blames the woman, saying, the woman whom you gave me. So he's actually blaming God first. But it's tragic to pass the buck rather than taking responsibility for one's own self. That seems to be a condition of sin. Shame makes us want to pass the blame to others when there's plenty for ourselves. Well, at any rate, I thought it should be said something about the relationship between man and woman. Woman certainly isn't secondary, since helper is something that is used by the prophets and the Psalms to say, the Lord is my helper. And surely, yes, there is the tension and there is the desire between man and woman, even though for the woman that desire means pain in childbearing. Relations between husband and wife certainly are very, very serious, and yet it has been instituted of God for us to procreate even before sin entered into the world. Keep that in mind, that the blessing, and that means God's identifying with and thoroughly having interest in God's blessing is for the human creature to multiply, bearing God's image to all creation. And man and woman, Edenic, one man and one woman together, the church said that man and woman are made for each other to mutually build one another up in mutual society. That it would be, that mutual society, of course, is in following God's commission to represent God, bearing God's image to all of creation. So these are vital things that we learn so quickly, and it's important that we read large sections together, but I wanted to make these things as we quickly run through all the Bible. Hope this is helpful. Thank you very much.